Imagine being able to build an app with your name on it, just by thinking about it. Meet Base 4.
Hey, listen!
In Dead by Daylight, your ultimate goal as a survivor is to escape. To do that, you have to fix all the gens and open the exit gates. In most scenarios, this concept works just fine. However, there's one where it completely falls apart, namely when there's only one survivor left and the exit gates haven't been powered. In this case, to use an exit gate, the survivor would have to finish all the remaining gens solo, but with the killer roaming around the map, that's almost never possible. That's why there is the hatch in the game, an alternative escape mechanic that bypasses gens. Not everybody knows it, but the hatch wasn't Behavior's first idea for this mechanic. Originally, they had a different concept in mind called the Black Lock. How exactly it was supposed to work is unknown, because it was scrapped in favor of the hatch before the release of the first public beta build. All we know is that there would have been several Black Locks scattered around the map and that they could be opened using the Skeleton Key, the only available key at that time. When Black Locks were replaced with the hatch, the Skeleton Key was updated to open the hatch instead. Two add-ons, Milky Glass and Black Silk Cord, were also adjusted to apply their effect to the hatch. However, the devs forgot to update the description of these items, so when the game launched, they still referenced the Black Lock instead of the hatch. In patch 1.1.2, the game was expanded with more items, add-ons and offerings, including the Dull Key and the Rainbow Map, which also featured the Black Lock in their descriptions. And it wasn't until 4 years later that someone at Behavior finally noticed this inconsistency and fixed all the related descriptions. Like with many other old mechanics, the original hatch was very poorly implemented. In fact, one could even argue that it did as much bad for the game as it did good. All the problems with it stemmed from its spawn logic. It was a little more complicated than today. I'm gonna explain it to you the way my friend explained it to me 8 years ago when I had just picked up DBD. The hatch spawned after 5 events happened during the match. 2 things counted toward the event counter, the number of completed gens and the number of dead survivors. While this explanation did make sense, there was one glaring issue with it. It only worked for full lobbies with 4 survivors. The thing is, before the fall of 2019, DBD didn't have dedicated servers. Instead, it relied on the peer-to-peer connection, with the killer being the host. The system was extremely unreliable because it made the survivor's ping depend on the quality of the killer's connection and their physical location. If they were too far away and/or had a ISP, it could easily result in a situation where some survivors couldn't load into the match. But unlike today, when that happened, the match didn't get cancelled. It actually started with however many survivors managed to load in, be it 3, 2, or even 1. The reduced number of survivors resulted in the reduced number of gens they needed to complete, which in some cases created scenarios where 5 events physically couldn't happen, like for example with 2 survivors and 3 gens. But the hatch still spawned if you completed all 3 gens, which means that the actual math behind the hatch was different, and later I found the right explanation. It spawned when the number of fixed gens equaled the number of alive survivors plus 1. In other words, the hatch used to spawn at 3 gens and 1 survivor left, 2 gens and 2 survivors left, 1 gen and 3 survivors left, and 0 gens and 4 survivors left. The first case was nothing special, because this is how the hatch works in the live version of the game. The second, however, was a whole different story, because it allowed all the remaining survivors to escape through the hatch practically in the middle of the match. All you needed for that was someone with a key on your team and just a little bit of coordination. You could also bring a map for hatch tracking, but that was optional. Your job was to fix the minimum required gens for the hatch to appear, get together, open it, and escape without finishing the objective. And now imagine how it felt as the killer. You're going up against a squad of sweaty no-lifers on comms. They're gen rushing like it's their last day on Earth, and you're really struggling to keep up with them. By the time they're down to just 1 gen, you've only managed to kill 1 of them, but because you have a nice endgame build, you're still hoping to get at least a draw. You start patrolling the last 3 gens trying to buy a little more time, but somehow survivors aren't showing up. And then all of a sudden the match randomly ends and the game says that you've lost. You check the survivors loadout and it all adds up. These f***ers had a key. The strat was omega popular among Swifts, and like that wasn't enough, the game was further promoting it with the now deprecated Where Did They Go achievement, which required all 4 survivors to escape through the hatch. Since nobody in their right mind would want to deal with this bull, soon killers started dodging lobbies with keys en masse, and if some cheeky bastard managed to smuggle one in with the last second switch, they were 100% guaranteed to be given some facecam treatment. Though honestly, it didn't do much except for letting you blow off some steam, because once the survivor died, they dropped the key on the ground and their teammate could pick it up and use it. With the introduction of Franklin's demise, killers received a proper counterplay for keys. At that time, on top of making survivors drop items, it damaged them for 10% of their base amount of charges. It wasn't much, but if the survivor was actively using the key for aura reading throughout the match, it actually gave you a chance to take it away from them completely, because before patch 3.6.0, depleted items disappeared. And let's have a moment of silence for the poor bastards who used green keys at that time. These keys couldn't open the hatch, but since in the lobby they looked no different than the ones that did in the killer's eyes, these survivors were still flagging for PvP. On the other hand, if you lack chase practice, bringing a green key was a perfect way to get some without risking losing valuable items. items. What made it even worse was that hatch spawn locations were extremely predictable. Theoretically, they were supposed to be random. However, in practice, because of the meticulously written spaghetti code, the hatch often chose to spawn on the same spots. For example, when I just started playing, I immediately noticed that on Larry's, the hatch almost always appeared in the vicinity of the library. Can't name the exact spot, but if it was there once you reached the library, you'd most certainly hear it. With the introduction of Baba, we got Green Pantry, where the hatch liked to spawn in the main building right next to where there's normally the entrance to the basement. The most consistent spawn was in the first iteration of Goodham Preschool. Again, the spawn location was in the main building, in that little room with a bed. The hatch appeared there in 9 games out of 10. Now imagine the hatch escape rate of a survivor who knew all these spots and also had a decent game sense. Actually, you don't need to imagine that. We have a real-life example of this. Enter Monto.
Hey.
This guy was so ridiculously good at finding the hatch, it honestly felt like the game was giving him preferential treatment. Eventually, this led to the birth of the Hatch King meme on his channel. I don't know if he called himself that or his community did.
If I am correct from my memory, I'm pretty sure the first person that called me Hatch King was Puppers.
In any case, it was absolutely deserved. Finding the hatch is just in this guy's DNA. One more thing regarding how easy it was to find the hatch in the old DBD. When I was checking things in version 1.0 for this video, I noticed that in customs, the hatch starts emitting its signature ambient sound even before it actually appears on the map.
Is it upstairs? No, it's probably outside.
Yeah, I think I've found it. Yeah, Procket. There you go. I don't know if that's actually how it worked back then when this version was current. It could be a bug specific to the community's repack. If you played DBD at that time and you know it for sure, please enlighten me in the comments. In any case, that's a very valuable insight into how the game handles hatch spawning, because it makes it clear that on the code level it doesn't spawn at the end of the match. On the contrary,